Hello, ladies. So, welcome to my channel, We Do, and it's We Do Wednesdays. Women empowerment, define the odds. And today's my birthday, so I'm going to do something a little different. Here in Canada for St. Patrick's Day, I know everybody's into green beers and all this stuff. I'm going to do a little different thing for the green. I'm going to introduce my village from Grenada, my green girls, as we call them. So, we're all from Grenada, and they're my village. And as part of women empowerment, we talk a lot about encircling yourself, surrounding yourself with people that would uplift you, and hopefully it's a sisterhood, and I mean there are men out there too, because I have a few men subscribers, so thank you very much. But the advice is for you two men. But we're going to focus now on some girls that I met in college. And ladies, if you didn't meet them in college, it's not too late to meet them now. Ditch the intoxicating friends, find some friends that would uplift you. In my circle, where personalities are very different, we're gonna have one person that's always gonna pray for you. Sandy's my techie, Sammy is that motivation, you just quiet voice, and Malara is always gonna pray for you. And they all do pray for you. I mean, so thank you, ladies. Thank you for that. So let's start first. Tell us a little bit of where you're from. And I'm gonna start with Malara.
Hi everyone, my name is Malara Alexis. I'm from St. Paul's, St. George's, beautiful island of Grenada.
What do you do, Malara? What's your career?
Oh, I'm an infectious disease physician.
Okay. Were you always an infectious disease physician?
No, I taught for 2 years in Grenada, and I also did general medicine for a bit, and then I did a fellowship in infectious diseases. So I'm practicing that here in Southern California now.
Okay, thank you. And now we're going to go to Samantha Matthews. Tell us about yourself, Sammy. Where are you from?
Hi, everyone. I'm Samantha Matthew, better known as Sammy. Everybody will know me from my village and back in Grenada. I'm from Lamode in St. Patrick's, up north.
Okay, what do you do?
Beautiful island as Grenada. I'm a pediatrician by career.
Okay. Okay. Were you always a pediatrician?
Well, I guess back in Grenada, we all started off as teachers because back then when you finished school, you were either a teacher or you went to work in the bank in the meantime. So I was a teacher at St. Rose Secondary School for about a year and a half. And then I went away to college in Texas. And then I circled back and I was working as a tech in a mental institution for a short time after college. And I went back to medical school and here I am.
Wow. Okay. That's a journey in itself. So we're going to go to Sandy. Sandy Yan.
Hey
So
everyone.
Sandy.
Hey. My name is Sandy Noel, and I came from the parish of St. Patrick's, Grenada. And yeah.
Tell us about yourself. What do you do?
So I'm a senior medical technologist. I work in a clinical trials laboratory.
Mhm.
Of course, just like Sammy and Malara, I was actually also a teacher in Grenada. Um, so it kind of set the foundation to where I'm at right now in my life, because teaching is not an easy thing.
No, no, it's not. No, it's not. And thank you, ladies. That brought me back to I was a teacher too in Grenada. I totally forgot about that. So I guess you're right, Sammy. I told
I
my
was going to
daughter.
ask. I was like, was Ever a teacher? Okay.
I was. And there's a funny story because Sandy and Sandy worked at a school that the principal called me. I'm like, I have a friend called Sandy because I was already teaching. So I said, I have a friend called Sandy. She's really good in biology. She can be your biology teacher. So yes, in Grenada, you work at the bank, and I've interviewed for the bank too, or you became a teacher. And I like that point, Sandy. It does set the foundation kind of for where you gonna go after, right? Kind of set the tone. If you could do that, you could do a lot of other things.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh yeah.
So, ladies, so I'm gonna start with Molar. Tell me, Molar, I know you're an infectious disease specialist, and it's out there. It's COVID. This is unprecedented. Hit us by surprise. What is it like? How do you cope through this challenging time?
Well, this pandemic is something like we have never really experienced, and over here we've had more than our share of it. First of all, we always give glory to God for giving us the physical strength that we need to be able to manage. And again, working in this area, we always have to keep abreast with current information. information changes rapidly. So we have to be constantly reading in terms of treatment. How do we treat this disease? How do we prevent it from spreading? So it's a lot of, learning on the go as you're taking care of patients. You're also learning and educating yourself to making sure they're getting the treatment that would be probably beneficial, and also preventative methods. So it's a lot about, just always being up to date with what's happening there. But definitely we always know and believe that God is the one that carries us through it, and also the support of family and friends, knowing that you have family and friends praying for you and supporting you, that goes a long way.
Okay, so I'll just stay on you a little bit, Malara. So based on what you're saying, though, it seems that being religious and knowing that you have God as your source to plug into, that's really a helpful tool in your everyday function and going to work and getting up. That's your driving force, I'm gonna kind of get from what you're saying here.
Yeah, yes, definitely. We do the best we can. We wear the protective equipment and we follow the guidelines, but ultimately God is the one who is the protector. So really we give credit to God, because that's to whom credit is due.
Amen, sister. Okay, so now I'll go to Samanja. Same question. How do you cope? You're a pediatrician. How do you cope? And you're a mom. So you got a few things happening here. How do you cope in this challenging time? I work and then balance your home life with that.
Well, in the beginning of COVID, it was very challenging because, as you see, I'm a mom and I'm a pediatrician. So I have work and then I had kids in virtual school. So what do I do with my kids in virtual school? Now they have to be at home. You can't have a babysitter. You can't have a nanny because nobody can come to your house. I have to go to work. But as Malara said, God is our protector and God is in charge. So actually something strange happened, and which actually worked out for my good. In the beginning, they were like, okay, we're going to put two doctors who's going to be in charge of seeing only COVID patients. And surprisingly, I was the one picked to be the one in charge of COVID patients. So it was like, okay, that doctor who's going to be seeing all the COVID patients can stay home. And if there's an admission to the hospital, we're going to call you and you can come in. So God worked things out. I was able to stay home for a whole month and didn't get any calls really to go in to see any patients because, as you know, the kids was not affected as much as the adults with COVID.
Yes.
So God was good. So I was able to stay home and help the boys with virtual school. And may had to go out once or twice in the daytime just for an hour or two, but nothing much. So it's been good. It's been a good balance. And as I said, the kids were not much affected. So we were seeing kids in the clinic, but not as much. So things work out in our favor once we put our trust in God. And God's been good through that. So I'm thankful.
That's good. So Sandy, you're in the lab, so tell us, what do you do and how did COVID affect you? Did you have to restructure things? Were they, you had to change your mindset? What happened there?
Oh yeah, so well, of course, my experience is a bit different to Sammy and Malara's because they're, of course, dealing with direct patients, but I'm dealing with the sample part of it. So the fact that we didn't know much about COVID, it was pretty scary when we heard that we actually going to be getting studies for COVID, and everybody was panicking because we don't know, are we going to get COVID by handling the samples, etc., etc. And I mean, as it boils down to it, it was like we basically had to educate ourselves in terms of like how to better protect ourselves. And after that, we basically realized that we've been testing for HIV and other diseases before, and it was not an issue.
And you're fine.
It's the same thing with the COVID. So, but it was a bit challenging in the beginning because I mean people were having like anxiety, etc. So, but at the end of it all, I was one of the persons who validated the assay to get the test going in our laboratory. So then after understanding pretty much, how the assay worked, then it became like nothing. So
okay, then it was just a regular day at the lab with a
it
mask.
was like work as usual.
Okay, so I think what I got from this, guys, yes, in Sandy's case is mindset. We had to switch a mindset. At first, I guess everybody's panicking, and nobody quite knows what's happening. But switch the mindset. God's in control. We're gonna plow through this. It's just a regular day, right? If we do what we need to do, make sure God stays in control. It's just a regular day. And women, I want you to get that. It's always just a regular day when God's in control. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you about sisterhood. I mean, we've been hanging out in college since what we were 16, most of 15, wow, probably, yeah, 16, 17, 18. Some of us look the same, some of us look quite different. And when I say look the same, I'm winking at Malar. So, so, but how, in terms of sisterhood, do you think it was important that we believed in God, or it's important to have God in your sisterhood circle? Do you think that was a factor in why we're here today still?
Yeah, I think we have established already that the importance of a relationship with God, and that is number one. But also what we want to encourage is the importance of having good friends who can encourage us, in our journeys. All of us have had different journeys. We don't live in the same places. And, we have just over the years continued to connect, to encourage each other. Some of us, all of us, not some, all of us have had challenging portions in our life. And at some point we have been there to encourage the other person. So, over the years, the friendship has been so great that we've been there for each other. We've been able to encourage one another. If something is going on, we can just call, or even if nothing is going on, just to have maybe call and say, oh, it warms my heart when I would hear her voice on the voicemail saying, oh, I'm just calling to see how you're doing. So it's always good to have, just spiritual sisters who could encourage us through all our journeys. And today we just want to celebrate our friendship and how God has allowed us to encourage each other over the years.
So, Sammy, I'm going to ask you this, similar question. How important it is, though, that you believe that God was the center? Or do you believe, when we were in college, for example, that God was the center of a relationship? Or we just had some common things that gravitated us towards each other?
I think God was as a center has a big part because we all came from like different parts of the country. Sandy and I grew up together in church from since we were kids. So Sandy and I knew each other, and then we met you and Molara there, and we met so many friends. And I was like, we came from different parts of the country. We all share the same religious background, but we still met. So I think that religious background, God having a part to play with it also. And we also had a few friends, some friends that was an Adventist too, who was part of our whole college experience, but we all shared God as the background, who still is still the binding force between all of us, even though we may be, you're in a different country. In Canada, Molar is all the way in California, I'm in Alabama, Sandy's in New York, and we may not speak for a while, but when we meet, it's like we've never been apart. So I think sisterhood is very important, and we still have Sandra and Sandy who makes us laugh, and we can meet them and just laugh our heads out. I think it's important, and having like really good friends always carry you through life. So it's always say important who your friends are. They can either break you or they can either make you. And I'm thankful that I had such powerful women as my friends now.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
we didn't know we were going to be powerful women then, but I think you were right, though. We weren't, because we didn't know we all were Adventists. I think we just all end up in the same lab, and there was something clearly, right, that connected us, because our personalities are very, very different. As you can see, Sandy makes a lot of joke and I laugh at everything, and that kind of stayed consistent. And Molara is quite serious, and Sammy does laugh, but underneath. So I think, yes, there was something obviously that gravitated us towards each other. And yes, you're right. The other friends that we have some other friends, but they all were religious, not Adventists, but we all kind of just met in this kind of circle, and enjoy our walks across Tantine. Sandy, tell me about sisterhood. What do you understand by sisterhood?
Well, sisterhood is an important thing in for women in general, because um, sisters can lift each other up. When you see one falling, you pull the other up. You can offer advice on the other things. You can help in other aspects, whether it's friendship or religion, just like how, we all are Seventh-day Adventist individuals. So you can offer advice in terms of, the religious aspect of it, or the work-related aspect. And, it's all about building up each other. So, and at the end, everybody can be at the top, just not just one person. So that's my take on that.
So from, what I appreciate though, and Molara probably remember, and that's what I'm saying, it's good to have some girls in your circle that can really tell you the truth when you need to hear it sometimes. And I remember when after I got divorced, and Molara probably doesn't remember, and I was like really sad. I'm like, oh man, Molara said, sister, I was wondering, because when I see this guy with all this earrings and stuff, so it's good to have that, the girl that would tell you the truth, right? Hey, some things not quite, I'm not saying the divorce was right or wrong. I'm just saying. Another thing is though, for me, COVID, there were some challenges. I am a mom too. I've changed careers. I've been unemployed for a while. That's another testimony in itself. And one of my viewers asked me to tell my story. So probably one day I would. But during COVID though, Sandy and I, and I look now for the positive things that's been happening in COVID. We, like all of us, for example, we call each other, but lately we started doing Zoom calls, we actually can see a face, like once a month, you're like, hey, we should say hi to each other. Now I follow Skylar's getting baptized, and I follow him, I'm doing all these little things, and then Davin, and I see them on Oakwood, which I would have never gone to Oakwood, to catch church in Oakwood on a Saturday, because a Sabbath I'll be in my church. So now I feel like we're more involved in each other's life, Soleil got baptized, you guys, I send you the link on the normal circumstances, so to just send a message and some pictures, a video. Sandy and I don't know if she want me to say that now, but we've been working out, I don't live in New York, but Sandy and I are up at 6:30 every day. We work at 6:30 a.m. or 6:30 p.m. working out together. So I say, COVID, I'll take the positive from it, right? So ladies, what I want us to do in our situations, though, take the positive from things. This is an example. So we kind of winded down, girls. Tell me, if you had to give any advice to any little girl who's in Grenada now, or any tiny Caribbean island, I mean, let's be honest, some people haven't even heard of Grenada. I've had to explain many things. Oh yeah, Grenada, yeah, no, not Jamaica. No, it's a tiny little one, So if you had to give some advice to some little girl who's watching us now going, wow, how could I be a doctor? How could I make it to the US? How could I go to, Singapore or wherever? I know Sandy goes on. What do we tell them? Sandy, what do you tell that little girl or the adult woman who's saying, man, all my life I wanted to be a lab technologist. That's me, just so you know. So what advice do you give them?
Well, I would say anything you want to do is attainable. You have to work hard for it. I mean, growing up in the Caribbean, when we were going to school, I value all of my experiences going up in Grenada, doing school from Form 1 to Form 5, because the intensity of how we had to study for exams and stuff, you don't see that happening here sometimes with the kids. It's like, they're always complaining, and it's like, I'm wondering, like, what do you complain about? When we in the Caribbean, we had to work so hard. You had to remember when you have to do CXC, you have to study for everything that you were doing in the from Form 1 to Form 5.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's built into you from the beginning. So I think everybody, as a young individual, you have the ability to do anything. It has nothing to do with who's rich or who's poor. It's just the mindset. So you have to be able, to just put yourself out there and just do. You know what I mean? And then for the adult individual, I would say, like, to challenge yourself, get out of your comfort zone. You know what I mean? So, and try to elevate yourself, and you see what happens once you do that. You're creating your own narrative. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you have to own it. You know,
Okay.
you're in control of your narrative.
Okay. Sammy, I felt like Sandy was preaching there. I almost say hallelujah. So, Sammy, same question. If that little girl came up to you, went on vacation home, and she's like, oh my God, I saw you on YouTube because my mom had it, and I'd like to be a pediatrician one day. What do I need to do? Can I do it? Because I'm so poor, whatever. I couldn't go to high school. I go to a school where I'm in primary school now and I don't wear shoes. Like, what do you tell her?
I would say any goal that you put your mind to is achievable. You just have to put your mind to it, and you got to study hard and don't take no for an answer. Um, and you have to set your goals. By this year, I used to say by this is what I was 8 years old when I decided I wanted to be a pediatrician.
Wow.
And that's what I just felt. I just love kids. I always wanted to be around kids, and that's what I wanted to do. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but that's what I put my mind to.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am today. So anybody can do whatever you have. Sometimes you may have to defer some things. Your friends may be having fun and then you have to go study. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that's what you got to do to make it. You can't
Mm-hmm.
be in every social event. You may have to miss a lot of stuff. In medical school, they taught us something they said deferred gratification. We have to
Mm-hmm.
defer certain things right now so that we could achieve something later on. So sometimes you may not be able to be part of all the parties and all the stuff, but you have to like put some stuff behind you and just be focused. And I remember when I was in college and I wanted to go to medical school, and I called the medical school. I didn't know how I was going to go there, where I was going to get money. And of course, if you take a loan, that's like 600,000 US dollars. That's like blow your mind. And the lady said to me when I called the admissions office, and I was like, well, I put in my application, I got accepted. But she's like, well, Grenada has scholarship. But she's like, do you know anybody in government who could like put in a word for you? And I said, ma'am, I don't know anybody in government. Only one person I know. God is my father.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, okay, well, go ahead, call and see if you'll get through. And I called and God worked things out. So we just have to pray and we just have to just keep focused and keep pushing and don't take no for an
Amen.
answer.
Yes, amen. So, Malara, similar scenario. You're walking on the beach in Grandins in your jeans and your t-shirt, and some girl comes up to you and say, oh my God, I know your sister. She's a doctor at a hospital, but I'd really like to go to the US one day to be a doctor. Is it doable? What do you tell her?
I want to speak to just achieving or not necessarily, moving to the United States. That is
Mm-hmm.
not type of success. Um, Different people work different places.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to what Sammy and Sandy said about, having a foundation in God and working hard, it's also good to connect with people who could be a mentor. Like, you have somebody
Yes.
in a particular field, just kind of sticking with them. And it's important for us as sisters to look out for young girls who probably express an interest in a particular field, to be a mentor to them. And if
Mm-hmm.
one is trying to achieve a certain goal, look to see people who are doing the things that you would want to do and kind of stick around them and express your desires so you can have a mentor. The importance of working hard. Sometimes there is deferred gratification in the fact that you may not be able to get to university at the point you want to. Maybe you have to work for a few years in a sector that you probably may not want to remain in, but don't give up. Even if you
Mm-hmm.
after you do your we called it A levels when we were doing it. Even after A levels, you have to work 3-4 years. That is not a full stop. It may just be a speed bump where you slow down for a while. So work hard, have faith and trust in God, look for mentors, and then always know that even if the process is not as quickly as you would like, it's not meaning that it will never happen.
Mm-hmm.
And we are successful wherever we are, whether we work in the Caribbean, we work in a country in Africa, we are working in Europe, we are working in Asia, wherever we are. Success is when we are working how God has called us to do. That's what gives us success. And just to end, I don't know if you'll ask the question, but I want to talk about value, because sometimes young girls, we place value on what we have. If we have a
Mm-hmm.
house, if we have a car, if we have a husband, if we have children, if we have education, a particular level of education. But we as sisters just want to encourage everyone, young girls and even older girls and ladies, that our worth is dependent on the value that God has placed in our lives. So even if we may not achieve the things that we are talking about, that house, that car, that marriage, that child, we are still of worth because God is our Father.
Thank you. And I'm gonna, Malara, thanks for wrapping it up there. I'm gonna end it that way, guys. So ladies, I really want to tell you, your sisterhood is important, you know. Find your village. And sometimes your village may have some men in it. That's okay. We just need a village. You know, if you can get some good sisters, that's great. You need mentors. As Sandy said, also, Malara said mentor. Sandy said, don't stop, you know. Sammy said, you got to put off some gratifications, guys. You know, it's hard work. There's certain things, and most things comes with hard work. You can't have everything at this minute, especially if you're going to school, for example. You got to tell that girlfriend who's calling you to go out, not tonight. Give me 2, 3 years.
As growing up, they always used to say, "Boys and books don't mix." So
And that, I listen, amen, sister. Unless they're your study partner at the opposite side. But anyways, ladies, honestly, I want to thank you so much. I want to thank you for being on my channel. Thank you for being part of our life story. I was telling my daughter, who would have thought? I mean, in college, we knew we were okay. We knew we were friends, but who would have thought, you know, wow, we'd go to different places and still we can keep that kind of connection. You know, and you guys can come over to Canada and we'll have worship on a Friday night, you know, and this sort of stuff. So I appreciate that. Find your village, ladies. It's not too late. Find a mentor, and you ladies who's out there who's listening, who can mentor someone. Just find someone. Don't wait for them to come to you. If you know someone is in need, just reach out there and mentor someone. And to all my ladies in Grenada, I still have a few friends there from high school. I have one friend I'll just shout out because she's checking on my YouTube. So thank you, Anik. Thanks for your support. Malara, Sammy, Sandy, thank you so much for being on the channel. Thank you for supporting from day one. Sandy, thank you for all your technical. Honestly, guys, I have to just put Sandy there. This girl really grabbed YouTube for me and ran with it. So thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all your advice and all your stories. And, you know, God bless us. Thank you.
God bless you. Thanks for
Bless
having
you
us.
too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you
Bye.
next time.
See you next time.